Good morning. Good morning. We are here November 14th, cruising through this 2021 NFL season, heading into week 10. My name is Nick Script. I'm here with my buddy Major. We go through some player prop bets from our partner sites on a weekly basis. And Major, man, I'm starting to grasp right now how far we are into the season, how fast it is flying by.
I can't hear it, bro. Can you hear me?
Little bit. I think you're a little staticky right now. But we'll get
There
moving
you go. I
forward
can hear
here.
you now.
All right, cool. You're a little staticky, but we'll keep rolling. We'll keep rolling here. What happens on a weekly basis here is that Major and myself, we go through some player prop bets from Monkey Knife Fight and Thrive Fantasy. And what I encourage on a weekly basis is if you like some of the things that I say, some of the things that Major says, you can select a mixture of both with your own opinions and put some money down on some player props. It's a fun way to spend some Sundays as we set our fantasy lineups and root for our home teams and everything there. So first player prop app we will talk about, partner here at Fantasy Points. And again, you are listening to the Extra Points show, is Monkey Knife Fight. And if you're wondering what is Monkey Knife Fight, you've never played it before, how do you go and find it? Well, you can go straight to the website, www.monkeyknifefight.com, or you can go straight to the App Store and download the Monkey Knife Fight app. And how it works is you pick a sport. So today, obviously, we're talking about the NFL. You select a game matchup, or you can pick like the early slate of games to have a mixture of things. And then you pick your fantasy contest. So they have different games, more or less, rapid fire, stat shootout. And there's some other fantasy ones as well. And then you just select your buy-in. And if you want to sign up today, you do have a good incentive. You can use the code Fantasy Points. So it's Fantasy PTS all put together to claim an instant 100% deposit matchup up to $100. New users also receive a free $5 deposit there just for signing up. So good incentives to sign up today for Monkey Knife Fight. And Major trying to go 4 for 4. I think last week I might have been a mix of things. What stands out to you today for Monkey Knife Fight? I think you might be muted. I'll go through my first set of picks here for Monkey Knife Fight. So what I had some confidence in is Tom Brady and Taylor Heineke. So I'm looking at this game, the Tampa Bay versus the Washington football team, and the game I selected was more or less for these two quarterbacks, and I actually like both of them to hit more than their passing yards. So I like Tom Brady 300.5 passing yards. I like him to be over, and then I like Taylor Heineke to be more than 244.5 passing yards as well. If we look at the Buccaneers, the receiving core is banged up right now, but if we look at TB12, his games this season, 379 passing yards, 432, 411, 375. He's had a mixture of games this season where he's been well over that 300 mark, and I think that he's going to capitalize against a poor passing defense. Taylor Heineke on the other side, he was lightning against Tampa Bay this past season in the playoffs. I think that's where the red lights were flashing for this guy, and he got a lot of hype because of that game. But if you look at some of the games for him this season, he's ranging from 37 to 41 passing attempts the last 4 games. So I expect that he needs to try to stay in this game against Tampa and air the ball out a bit. So I'm going to project both of these guys to be over their passing yards. So both Tom Brady to be more than 300.5 passing yards, and Taylor Heineke as well to be over that 244.5 for the more or less selection. Major, you got your – can you hear? You good to make –
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, there we go. There he is. So I had TB12 and in this game to be more than the passing yards for the more or less here. Any thoughts on that? Let me know your first pick.
Yeah, I'm totally with you on TB12. Taylor Heineke, I don't know. Maybe that's a tight one, but I do believe in Tom's going to have a really nice game this week.
Yeah, and the other thing with Heineke too, 260 yards over that mark for both Green Bay and Denver, which actually has decent defenses. So I got a little bit of optimism for him. But what's the first one that stands out to you today, man?
Yeah, I went with a new game that I seen popped up last week, but I was a little
Nice.
afraid to to partake. The sack attack. Um, the goal is 3.5. The prize is 1.5 times, and with this one, you choose three defensive players that you think will get the most sacks. So I kind of went chalk. I went to the top of the sack board and found some pretty intriguing matchups. So I have Myles Garrett versus New England. Miles is leading the league with 12 sacks. Mac Jones has been sacked 17 times through 9 weeks. That's 1.8 sacks per game. So Miles may be able to get 2 sacks. So I'm just trying that out, see how that feels. And then the second one for that one, TJ Watt. He's second in the league with 11.5 sacks. And Goff has been sacked 22 times in 8 games. That's almost 3 sacks per game. So I can get 3 sacks out of that game. And then my last one, I kind of went down the board just a little bit more. I went with Matthew Judon versus Cleveland, only because Baker has been sacked 25 times this year, which is fifth in the league. Judon is having a pretty good season with 9 sacks. So I think I have a pretty good chance to get the 12 sacks that I need to win this one. So let's try that one out, see how it feels. What do you think about that?
I like it. I like the fact that they keep adding more games to Monkey Knife Fight. I think that expands their market because there's some people out there that only focus on defensive players, or they really love that part of the game. You can't bet against Myles Garrett. He's got 7 straight games accounting for at least half of a sack or more. So the guy's on absolute fire. That seems like a gimme against the Patriots here. And then it'll be interesting to see with these other guys. That's a cool one to put some money down on today, just to get a sack there. Next one I got in mind, I played, so I try to mix things up. I got rapid fire. So rapid fire, I was selecting the Titans and Saints game, and I'm looking at the quarterback and the running back. So Tannehill, he's not going to have Julio Jones, who just hit the IR, unfortunately. But we did see Tannehill throw the season 347, 298, 270, 265 passing yards. He's had some nice games, and I think the Titans, they have this weird committee of running backs right now. If you look at, and I'll talk about them in a second, if you look at the touches, I'll talk about that in a second again, but they have very similar touches in the backfield, and it might change now that we got Adrian Peterson in his second game. But we'll see. I don't think that they can bank on the running game winning them a game against the Saints, especially since these two teams are very, very competitive this year. And then we look at Trevor Siemian on the other side. They're giving him a 40.5 passing yard bonus. But hot take, this is what makes me nervous about Trevor Siemian. Taysom Hill, I think, is breathing down his neck. And I think if he struggles, and I'm not a big Taysom Hill guy, just in all honesty, but the Saints are. The Saints like him a lot. So I think if Trevor Siemian goes out there and struggles against the Titans, who have been red hot, he might come in the game. So I'm taking Ryan Tannehill to have more passing yards than Trevor Siemian, just because I've seen him do it before. I've seen him have good games. And then again, you got Taysom Hill breathing down his neck. And then it goes to the running backs for this rapid fire. Mark Ingram is taken over for Alvin Kamara. And then we have Adrian Peterson, obviously the veteran, in his second NFL game this season. But I'm taking Mark Ingram over Adrian Peterson in rushing yards. And they give a bonus to Peterson, but I still have more faith that Mark Ingram will get the solidified touches, because last week Adrian Peterson, he led the backfield with 10 carries, but then you had Jeremy McNichols, he had 7 carries, and then you had Donta Foreman with 5 carries. So you got 3 guys that have similar touches. I'm just banking on Mark Ingram to have more touches today than Adrian Peterson. So I think I'm going to take him in rushing yards, knowing that Alvin Kamara is out. So a little bit of a rant there, but that's my rapid fire between the quarterback and the running backs there.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't rapid fire at all, but like you went in, man. But I agree with everything you said. Yeah, I have no pushback at all. I do think that Ingram, he looked pretty good, and AP didn't look so good that first game. I think he had like 20 yards out of 10 carries, something like that. So, uh, yeah, I think you're absolutely right, man. But for my second match here with the late games, um, I went with the touchdown dance, a goal of 3.5 touchdowns, and the prize is going to be 3x. This is you choose 3 players to see who will score the most touchdowns. And my first one I have is James Conner versus Carolina. Conner's tied for first place uh, in rushing yards with 10 TDs this season. With Chase Edmond now IR, Connor will have plenty of chances in the red zone due to Benjamin's lack of size. Um, Carolina defense is giving up 13. I think I did that wrong. Maybe 13. I think I put passing defense, bad passing TDs, but I think I meant rushing TDs. Might have to fact check that, but yeah. My second one is DK Metcalf versus Green Bay. With Russ back in a lineup, DK will have a better chance to see pay dirt. Although Geno to DK accounted for 5 of his 8 touchdowns this season. Um, Scoring double digits in week 5 and 8. So can DK get that TD chemistry with Russ? That's the question. Um, but I think they will. Green Bay secondary has given up 15 TDs so far this year. So, it's not the tightest defense, but let's see what happens. I think Russ coming off that injury, hopefully he can get that connection with DK. And the third one for this one, I went with the touchdown magnet. I went with Adam Thielen versus the Chargers. Uh, Thielen's leading Minnesota with 7 TDs right now, with one in each of the last 3 games. So he's kind of on fire when it comes to getting these TDs. It won't be easy because the Charger is averaging less than 1 TD in the last 3 weeks. So the Charger secondary is really good. That run defense is really bad. So that might be a little hard because I think Dalvin Cook might get the lion's share in that offense. So we'll see. What do you think about those picks?
So I like the thought process for all three, and it's hard to argue a ton because you see the potential for all three of these guys in this matchup. You got DK back with Russ and Russell Wilson. I know for a fact it killed him to sit there and watch Geno Smith play. Nothing against Geno, but Wilson's a guy that does not like to not be involved with football. He does it year round. He's always getting after it. So I like him to try to
He's
find.
never been injured, right?
What's that?
Has he been injured? I don't think he's ever really been
That's
injured.
what I'm saying. I don't think he's missed much time at all, maybe through his career. So sitting on the bench, you know that he's going to come into this game and want to sling the rock and find his receivers. So I like that. James Conner, you mentioned, absolutely on fire the last couple of games. He's doing nothing but score. Interesting stat, in the red zone, which you mentioned, he scored 10 touchdowns on 27 red zone attempts. That means on 37% of the time that he's rushed in the red zone, he has scored a touchdown. I think it's the highest out of guys who have rushed for at least 20 times in the red zone. So he's on fire as well. And then we know Adam Thielen's a big touchdown guy. I mean, a lot of people say he's dependent on touchdowns, but you know what? It scores you fantasy points. It scores your Vikings team points in their matchups as well. So it's hard to argue against all three of those guys. I like that. Like that a lot. So again,
and I need to get 4 TDs though. I need to get 4. So one of these guys needs to score twice.
I mean, James Conner, we just mentioned he's got 2 in both of his last 2 games, weeks 8 and 9. He's got 2. So if he continues this hot streak, he might be the hottest running back in football outside of a guy that I might talk about later a little bit. But good backings behind all 3 of those guys there. And again, Monkey Knife Fight, go straight to the website, go straight to the App Store. monkeyknifefight.com. Again, promo code Fantasy Points to claim that instant 100% deposit matchup up to $100. Fantasy Points, Fantasy PTS. We'll shift over to Thrive Fantasy. And again, if you are not familiar with Thrive Fantasy, it works a little bit different than Monkey Knife Fight. Actually, a lot of bit different, but same thing. Player props, all player props. You can go straight to the App Store and download Thrive Fantasy there, or you can go check it out on thrivefantasy.com. And how it works is basically they give you a list of 20 players on Thrive, and you have to select 10 players, and you have over or unders of certain marks. So you'll have quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, whatever the case is, and they'll give you some sort of statistic, receiving yards, passing yards, touchdowns, and you select the over or under of 10 players. So Major and I will talk about 2 each, so that's 4. You hit 6 of your own, and you can be in some good business here. But again, thrivefantasy.com or straight to the Thrive Fantasy app. You can use the promo code here, Fantasy Points, but this time Fantasy and points is all spelled out, put together. If you sign up, you'll get that instant 100% deposit matchup up to $100 again. So another big incentive just for signing up and putting some money down today. Major, give me your first Thrive Fantasy pick for today.
Yeah, I kind of spoke about this player a little bit in the last one, but Dalvin Cook, more than 90.5 rushing yards. I think Cook will have a good game because it might be his last for a while, when or if the NFL contacts him about the off the field issues. So I think he's going to be playing with a little chip on his shoulder. The Chargers are giving up 161 yards per game. That's like it's ridiculous. They can't stop anything on the ground. But through 9 weeks, through 9 games, Cook has 33 rushing yards for 486 yards. I think that may be wrong too, but I'm not going to fact check because I was up late doing this last night. But yeah, what do you think about Dalvin Cook? And if you got the numbers for me, help me out.
I got some numbers for Dalvin Cook. So, again, I'm with you. I think the off-field stuff might be a big chip on the shoulder day that he's going to want to go out there and just run all over everybody. But you look at the numbers, week 2, 131 rushing yards, week 6, 140, week 9, which was last week, 110. So this guy gets it done on the ground. We've seen it happen before. ESPN, the app is with you, Major. They say he's going to rush for 104 yards. So a lot of signs pointing in the right direction for Dalvin Cook today. So I'm with you. I'm with you on that. I am going to go also with the guy that I talked about last week, who might be the hottest running back in football right now. But if we look at some good signs that don't have to do with this running back, back in October, Derrick Henry rushed for 3 touchdowns against Jacksonville. Back in September, James Conner rushed for 2 touchdowns against Jacksonville. Jonathan Taylor, the guy I'm talking about now, is on absolute fire. He scored a touchdown in every single game from weeks 4 through 10, and he's totaled 8 across those 6. So all this guy is doing right now is score touchdowns. I think today, I'm going to be hot takey. I think today, if you want to put a player prop bet on a different app, Jonathan Taylor, I think he's going to score 2. I think he's going to follow the Derrick Henry and James Conner trail against the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think he scores 2, but my bet here is Jonathan Taylor over 0.5 rushing touchdowns for 80 points on Thrive Fantasy. So just saying he's going to score 1 at least. Any thoughts there? And then let me know about your.
Yeah, man, that's a layup. I think that's an easy one right there. Although I do think the Jaguars are playing better football and defense.
Yeah.
They got a little different energy going on with that organization, so I think they're kind of coming around. But Jonathan Taylor can just wake up and fall into the end zone. So I'm with you 1,000% on that. And for my second one, I am wishing on a star right now. I went with Mike White, more than 240.5 passing yards.
Ooh.
The Mike effing White experience was put on hold last week due to an injury, but Coach Saleh has stated that White's performance could be the deciding factor if he continue to be the quarterback for the rest of the season, even after Zach Wilson returns. Buffalo has the best pass defense, only giving up 177 yards per game. But do not sleep on White, who has posted a 400-yard game this season. So I'm really hoping that White balls out because it's a great story. And I love how the Jets just like rally around this guy. What do you think about Mike White?
What's interesting about Mike White, I don't know if I'm as optimistic just because the Bills' defense is good, but at the same time, listen to this quote. Jets head coach Robert Saleh implied on Wednesday that White's performance in his 3rd start of the season Sunday against the Bills will dictate whether the signal caller retains the top spot on the depth chart moving forward. That was reported by The Athletic. So this guy literally is being told, hey, if you ball out in this game, you can keep starting. So that is a major, major incentive for this guy to do what he did 2 weeks ago, which is wild. So I think every intention for Mike White is going to be to air it out today. So if you want to be optimistic and you want to say, hey, I'm with Mike White because his job as a starting quarterback for the New York Jets is on the line, then might be a bet to put down because it's not just your average day. This is like a big thing on the line for this guy. So you know what? I like it. I like being spicy with this guy who threw 404 the other week. So I'm with you, man. And my second one, I had to switch up and improvise because I wrote about Big Ben. Big Ben's not playing. He's not playing today. So
Yeah.
I went with Tyreek Hill. So Tyreek Hill to go over 68.5 receiving yards for 70 points. So there's some knocks here because 2 out of 4 of the last games for Tyreek Hill, he's been under that mark twice there. But what shouldn't go unnoticed is that across the last 2 games, he's had 29 targets in 2 games. He had an 18 target day 2 weeks ago, which is insane. So Patrick Mahomes is doing nothing but feed this guy right now. And what's interesting to me is that this Chiefs-Raiders game, the Raiders are actually pretty good against the pass 4 receivers. They give up the 3rd fewest yards per game, 2 wide receivers. But this division right now is so close. They are not even separated by a game, I don't think, the Chiefs and the Raiders. So what does that say to me? It says to me that Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs offense are going to try to get right because they haven't looked great, for one, and they have to win this game against the Raiders. It's a must-win game. So betting on Tyreek Hill, who we've seen earlier this season have 197 receiving yards, 186 receiving yards, I'm going to say he can get 69 because that'd be 0.5 over the receiving yard mark that I need right now. So what do you think about Tyreek Hill today against the Raiders?
I think you're safe because if you look at his stats since week 3, he's been down, up, down, up, down, up. This is last week he was down, so this week he may be up. So I'm just going with the wave there. So I think Tyreek will get that 70 yards he needs.
Yes, well, technically 69 because it says over 68.5.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so that's
why you picked it because of 69. I see you, Nick.
You know what? It kind of just stood out to me. Who knows why? But yeah, I went with that. I initially had Ben Roethlisberger, and I think it's still on the app.
Yeah.
I had him to throw for only 1 touchdown max. It said under 1.5, which I thought was the case. I got my Najee Harris jersey on right now. It's hard to see, but it's going to be an interesting day for the Steelers because we got Mason Rudolph. It's a weird week for the NFL. So just on a side note, if you're making some player prop bets, if you're setting your fantasy lineups, whatever the case is for today, got a lot of guys missing. Damian Harris, Nick Chubb. We got Big Ben's going to be out of the mix now. I'm probably missing a long list here, but we're missing a handful of guys for today's slate. So make sure you pay attention to that as well. I do also have some picks from Tom Browley. If you guys are sticking around, him and Joe Dolan will be continuing on the the fantasy points stream today. Let's see what Tom Browley had. Jonathan Taylor over 89.5 rushing yards, he said, for his pick. And then he also had Antonio Gibson under 42.5 rushing yards, which I'm kind of with him on that, just seeing the struggles of Antonio Gibson. Before we close things out, and any thoughts, Major, on Antonio Gibson? Are you with Tom on this one that he might have another rough day?
Man, I'm a big Antonio Gibson stan. I'm like one of his biggest fans. I felt like I found him in that draft. No one was talking about him, and I grabbed him in every league. But Tampa Bay defense is like running into a brick wall. So I'm with him. I think he's going to have a long day.
And he's been dealing with that shin issue, and I don't know if that's if he got right after the bye. They had the bye in week 9, but in week 8 he only carried the ball 8 total times. He had 11 touches in that game. I'm hoping he's healthy. So if he doesn't have a great day, I'm just hoping that he's healthy. And that's all you can kind of ask for sometimes. But thank you guys for tuning in. Once again, if you want to check these player prop sites out, you can go straight to the App Store. It's probably the easiest way. Major and I have said it multiple times. Very easy apps to navigate. Go check out Monkey Knife Fight. Use the promo code Fantasy Points, so that's Fantasy PTS. And you can check out Thrive Fantasy and go straight to the App Store for that. But that promo code is Fantasy Points, and it's all spelled out. Both of those are put together. Major, anything else as we close the show out here?
Pretty much. I went 2-2 last week. I feel pretty confident about this week, man, even with the Mike White pick. So let's get that 4-0, man. Have we got a 4-0 this year? One of us, we need to hit that.
I think I've gotten 3. I've never hit 4. So we'll see. We'll see. I'm hoping that this is going to be the week for that. But thank you guys for tuning in again. Fantasy Points, the Extra Points show here. Keep watching. We got another great show coming up. We got Tom Briley, Joe Dolan. They continue on this Sunday going into Week 10. That's going to be a great show as well. Good luck to your fantasy matchups, your home team, your player prop bets. Have a good Sunday, guys.